Good morning, Mrs. Shields, and welcome to WKYB Education TV.
Good morning, Mr. Shields. I'm very happy to be here today.
Today we're going to talk briefly about this trending topic of family engagement, particularly the importance of partnering with families in the early stages of child development. How early should parents participate in their child's schooling?
I believe this is critical for parents to participate in their child's schooling very early on, even in our early learning programs. I think a lot of times our families tend to look at it as daycare and child care, but not as learning facilities, which is what so many of them are. They're mandated by the state. They have to follow regulations. Teachers have to have the adequate amount of professional development to teach in our early learning programs. And those are what we consider the foundational years. If parents are participating in their children's education as early as the early learning years, what it does is it sets the tone for how their children look at learning and education later on in the upper and middle school years.
You've been in the field for over 20 years as a teacher. What was your focus in the classroom regarding parents, and has parent-teacher interactions changed?
Well, they definitely have changed. I am going to start with what my focus was as a teacher. As a teacher so many years ago, which was over a decade ago, the focus was more or less parent participation. Parent participation and parent engagement is slightly different. Parent participation back then was more or less about having parents come in and participate in things that you have center-wide, like annual events and celebrations, little celebrations in your classrooms, and having your parents come in and conduct parent-teacher conferences with you. Teachers sat down, they went over the assessment of the children's development, parents signed a form, and that was pretty much it. If they had any concerns, they addressed them, you addressed them, and that was the end of it. Today we're asking our parents to be a little bit more a part of the learning process, because what we've learned as educators over the years is that children are more successful when they're a part of the learning process, and it also goes for their parents when they're a part of it. So today, when we have our parents come in, say for instance if it is for a conference or for something of that nature, we asking our parents to come in now and help with the individualization of their children's education in that classroom. So we're asking them to be a part of that learning process. And it really does, in turn, has lasting, successful effects on what their kids get out of the program and what they get out of the learning during the time that they're there.
Many parents struggle with Many programs struggle with parent engagement. What is your perspective on this challenge?
I think the biggest challenge that programs have is their idealism of what parent participation and parent engagement is. We want our parents to participate, but we also want them to be engaged when they participate. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. Parent participation is more or less about having your parents come in, like I said, for these annual events and being a part of what's going on inside of the center. Parent engagement is more or less about that piece, as well as engaging them in what is going on, not only in their classrooms and in the programs, but educating them on what they can do as parents to make sure that the kids have what they need far beyond the classroom. That's in your neighborhoods, in your communities, and how things affect policies. Policies is another piece. You know, we have to educate our parents on how their right to vote and they're exercising that right to vote on these critical things that come down the pike for parents and that affect their children is important. And then these parents need support more than they ever needed before as well too. So as educational leaders, as teachers, as administrators, what we need to do more now is when we work on getting ideas together to get parents involved and have them engaged in our programs, engage them in things that they need, which is support. Our families need support now more than they ever did before. Our communities need support. Our neighborhoods need support. There's such a division in our neighborhoods today. And I think a lot of that is because there is a gap in what our parents know and understand and what our communities know and understand about what it is that our programs are offering. You know, we used to use the term, and some people still use it today, it takes a village to raise a child. It was a village that raised myself, my siblings, my neighbors and friends. You know, there's a disconnect in our communities, and I think we really truly need to get back to that in order for us to support our families. When we support our families, we have stronger families, stronger communities, stronger neighborhoods, and in turn, we have stronger programs.
How can we get our communities more involved?
By simply letting them know what's going on in our schools. We need to get out there. It's hard to say that. I know a lot of people say, how can we get out there? Get out there. There's always something going on in our communities. Our schools need to be actively involved in our communities. We need to get out there and see what's going on in our neighborhoods. How can we really effectively give our parents the support that they need if we don't know what their needs are? Once we know what their needs are, we can help support them and engage them more. So when we know that, our communities understand what we can offer, we find out what our communities can offer, we offer that to our families, and in turn, we actually strengthen our families, and that's what we need to do.
Lastly, what is your outlook on the future for family engagement?
Well, my outlook is pretty bright. I think that once we understand what each one of our roles are, and it's not just the teachers and the administrators and the schools and the families and the community, it's all of us. It's no one entity. We can't do it alone. And I think that's where we failed at, and that's why it is such a gap. We need to have a partnership. We need that camaraderie. We need that collective effort between all people involved, all vested educators, every single last one of us. We need to make sure that we are a part of what children are learning to make sure that they are successful. We are a part of the things that are important to education. We need to make sure that we are offering that support. I think that, things are going to work out. I think that we just need to make sure that we have a great understanding of what it is that the needs are, and then we can meet those needs of those families and strengthen them and our communities and schools as a whole.
Mrs. Shields, I thank you for your expertise on this subject. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you soon.
I look forward to hearing from you all as well. Thank you so much for having me, and you have a great day.